Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront updates. The beta is now over, and I think generally speaking most people are very happy with their time in the beta, and I personally clocked in around 30 or 40 hours, and I still wanted to play more when the beta ended. There are however multiple areas that I think the game can improve, and I wanted to dedicate this video to some of the things that I personally thought was the most annoying things in the beta. There's gonna be a mix of gameplay mechanics and also general bugs in the game that I want to address. There was a lot more bugs in the game than what I will mention here, but these are the ones I thought could really break the game sometimes and that really needs to be fixed for the full game. Let's start off with one of the biggest issues in the beta, the spawns in Walker Assault. I think anyone who played the beta noticed that the rebels often got completely destroyed in their spawns, and this is something that really needs to be fixed in the full game. EA has already confirmed that it will be fixed and that they are working on it right now, but I still wanted to mention it in this video since it was such a huge problem in the beta. I think the biggest issue was that there seemed to be only 2 spawns for the rebels at each uplink, meaning that if you used the ATST you could simply walk between the 2 spawns and destroy the rebels, and they had nowhere to hide. I think they need to make sure that the spawns are based more depending on where the enemy is and not where the uplinks are located, since in the beta you could literally see people spawn in front of you as the Empire. I just want to quickly mention my opinion on the whole balance issue in Walker Assault. Except for the bad spawns for the rebels, I really don't think they should do any major changes to the balance, because during the last day of the beta I actually won more rebel games than I lost, because people started to understand how to actually win and focus on the 80-80s. And if they buff up the rebels too much, that means that they might risk making it too easy for the rebels to win. But there are some small things I think they could change, like making the Empire not able to use the turrets and so on. Moving on to another spawn issue. I really think the partner spawn needs to be reworked. First of all, I don't think you should be able to spawn on your partner if he's in the middle of a battle. There should be a limit, like you can only spawn on your partner if he hasn't taken any damage for 5 seconds. And it would also be a bit helpful if you could actually see your partner or something like that, so you actually know what sort of situation you're spawning into. This also brings me to another issue that a lot of other YouTubers have talked about, the party system. Right now you're able to party up as 8 people and join a game, but the problem here is that in the actual game you don't have anything to help you distinguish your party members from the rest of your teammates. So whenever I played with more than one person in the beta, it basically meant that at the start of the game we all ran to the same uplink to cap it together, but after that it was impossible for us to stick together when some people died and actually work as a team. Something as simple as making the rest of the party members a different color on the map would make it a lot easier to coordinate teamwork. While we're talking about the map, I think this is something that definitely needs to be added to the full game. Just the option to pop up a map in the middle of the game to get an overview of your teammates and how the map looks. This is mostly to aid new people in the game, because if you've played as much as I have, you pretty much know every in and out of the map, but if you're new to the game you can get a bit confused of the map layout, so I really think having a simple pop-out map would be very helpful, and maybe things like ATSTs and 80-80s could also be marked out on the map to help out. Now moving on to some completely other things that I think needs fixing. Melee. In my opinion the melee is just crap in Battlefront, to be honest. The damage model with one shot from the back and like 50% from the other directions is completely fine, but the fact that you actually stop when you melee someone is just so annoying. It really makes the melee completely useless, because whenever you use it your character just stops in the place and renders you completely useless. The only times I use melee is whenever someone is capping a pod in drop zone and had their shield popped up. Otherwise it's just not worth using it. I'd be happy if they just did it like in Call of Duty or Battlefield, where you won't stop when you're trying to melee someone, but you actually keep the momentum. If they fix that, I can see the melee being a bit more viable to use in more situations. Moving on to something that I think many of you noticed is that the 80-80 aim and sometimes the ATST aim is completely off. This was especially noticeable in the 80-80 at the start of the round. Just look at how off the shots are compared to where I aim. I'm assuming this has something to do with the camera angle, the position of the head and so on, but I really hope that this is something that isn't supposed to be like this and that they will fix it for the full game, because it was very annoying in the beta and it practically made the 80-80 useless for the first 5 minutes of the game. Another issue I had with the aim and crosshair is for the starfighters. I felt like some of the starfighters had some major issues whenever you tried to aim on people on the ground. It was like the aim didn't want you to aim on the ground and it tried to level you out and sometimes aim in really weird directions. I feel like they simply could make the crosshair not move whenever you don't want it to. Just let us control it for ourselves instead of having some automatic leveling system that makes it really weird. And the same goes for when you try to turn around with the mouse. It's very annoying having to drag the mouse over the mouse pad multiple times to do a proper turn, and as soon as you lift your mouse off the pad, the crosshair automatically tugs to the middle of the screen. It basically feels like the controls are trying to work against you, and that it's very adapted for controllers, and I would love to see some better controls for mouse and keyboard users. One quite game-breaking glitch that I experienced is that the orbital strike often messes up. First off, we have the normal orbital strike that basically can win the game for rebels, but many times when I got it, I simply couldn't deploy it. I tried to aim on top of the AT-AT, below the AT-AT, but no matter how many times I clicked, the orbital strike just wouldn't go off. This is most likely and hopefully going to be fixed, but it was a glitch that pretty much cost me some games as the rebels, so I really hope that it will be fixed. And when using the AT-AT, I also noticed that there was a glitch where the aim of the orbital strike would sometimes be completely stuck, so no matter if I switched back and forth to the orbital strike, I still couldn't move the aim and I was stuck using the orbital strike at whatever start position it was at. Lastly, I would like to talk a bit about the heroes. I felt like they were not perfect in two different senses. First off, we have the health system. I feel like they sometimes died a bit too fast, and the problem here was the automatic health reduction. Sometimes you were already down at like 80 or 70% when you actually reached the fight, which was very annoying. I honestly don't think they need to have that health reduction that automatically removes like 1% health every second. Just make the health like a normal bar instead, that doesn't go down by the time, but that instead only goes down by taking damage, which would make them a bit more powerful. I would however still be okay with them having the vampiric effect, where they get a bit more health whenever they kill someone. And then we have Vader. I think he's too weak in the beta. I had no problem going on a rampage with Luke, but with Vader I tend to die a lot faster simply because he is so much slower. I mean, Vader as a person is a lot slower than Luke, but he is also supposed to be very powerful, so I think they need to be equals. Either buff up his health, make his abilities more powerful, or simply make him a bit faster. Because right now the only place where you can actually kill a lot of people with Vader is indoors in the hangars. Well, that brings my list of issues with the beta to an end. These are the things that I really noticed when playing the game and that I felt like this really needs to be addressed for the full game, but other than that, I'm very happy with how the game is right now. For being a beta, it played out very well and hopefully it will be just as stable at launch. Please let me know in the comments below what you guys think about the beta and what you think needs to be improved for the full game. I will see you guys soon again, and as always, may the force be with you.